Greetings from Guanacaste, Costa Rica, and welcome to today's special broadcast here on Costa Rica Matt. We are covering mountain properties for sale in Guanacaste, and appropriately, I am doing so from a mountain property that is for sale here in Guanacaste. I usually am talking a lot about the coast and the beach, but a lot of people want to get up onto Guanacaste's beautiful hillsides because, first of all, you can find these gorgeous views like what you see behind me. Second of all, you can find better breezes and a little bit lower temperatures. And third, you can obviously have benefits for privacy, security, etc. when you sort of get away from the crowd up on a mountain. And today we're going to be talking about a variety of mountain locations here in Guanacaste and specific properties that are for sale. We will be joined by my colleague Steve Mack, who is in Ohancha, up at the top of the Nicoya Peninsula, where temperatures are lower and where you see some beautiful farms for sale. But first, I want to talk about a property that is for sale closer to my area here in Playa Junquial, a mountain property where you have just a quick 15-minute drive out to many beaches, where you've got easy accessibility out towards Tamarindo and all the supermarkets, etc., but where you're sitting up here and you feel absolutely secluded, like you're above it all, and where you're enjoying some of the best views that I've recently seen here in Guanacaste. If you are out there and looking for advice regarding Guanacaste real estate, do be sure to send me an email to matt@costaricamat.com. You can also go to my website, costaricamat.com, and download my V-book. That is a compendium of the basic knowledge that anybody needs to start considering real estate here in Guanacaste. You will go to costaricamat.com. There's a big V-book button. Smash that, fill out the quick form, and we will send you our free video resource with the basic information about Guanacaste real estate. Let's start talking, before we get too much further in, about a beautiful mountain property for sale and where I am sitting today, Friday, May 16th. This is in an amazing spot called El Guapote. Not many people will be able to find El Guapote on tourism maps or even Googling it, because this is a truly Costa Rican community where you haven't seen radical changes locally. I want to first bring up a short video showing the beautiful drive up to this property, and then I want to show you some clips of the views overlooking the valley here. So the great thing about the home that I'm sitting in, which by the way is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath home for sale under $500,000, look at the views you get from the main living space here. And thank you very much to Maple, beautiful animal in the middle of the frame here, for modeling for us. So looking over the valley here, you have some absolutely spectacular views. You're situated only a couple minutes from a local community where you've got a supermarket, all kinds of stuff going on just down below. But again, you're situated up here above it all in an amazing location that gives you this kind of perspective overlooking Guanacaste. This is called the Treehouse here in El Guapote. And as I mentioned, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We've got this open living concept here in the main space, and then a really sort of modular setup where over behind me, you've got both of the bedrooms, master suite upstairs, and then an apartment below with its own kitchenette. So you've got a wonderful property here that can really host 2 adult couples. There's also a perfect opportunity to add on a pool on the porch here overlooking the valley. We're going to watch a promotional video for the Treehouse here in El Guapote, Santa Cruz de Guanacaste, and then we'll be right back to continue. Oh, that's not the promotional video. we're going to bring the right video clip up here now for you to enjoy here about the Treehouse.
Sustainable. Welcome to the Treehouse, a solar-powered modern home where luxury and nature meet. Close enough to beaches and services, but also far away from the hustle and bustle of the tourist hotspots. This 2-bedroom, 3-bathroom gem sits on over an acre of pristine property. Just 15 minutes from amazing beaches, 30 minutes to the vibrant town of Tamarindo, and 1 hour to Liberia International Airport. Inside, you'll find an open kitchen flooded with natural light. Perfect for entertaining or unwinding after a day at the beach. Wake up to breathtaking views from your dream bedroom, where tranquility and luxury come together. Unwind in a spa-inspired bathroom, featuring a rainfall shower that feels like an oasis in the mountains. With epic views in every room, modern design, and ideal proximity to beaches, Tamarindo, and international travel, this is more than a home. It's your Costa Rican sanctuary. This offering is a unique gem in a sea of cookie-cutter homes. Come home to the Treehouse, naturally.
Another thing I love about this property, you currently have absolutely no direct neighbors. Really, if you're looking for a place that's quiet and sort of the essence of Guanacaste, sitting up here, this is a special home. And typically, you would find that these kinds of properties, either you're looking at older construction and sort of one of those quirky, funky listings that might be up in the mountains and that maybe wasn't quite as appealing to a wider audience. But here you've got an absolutely brand new home. It's been well maintained by its current owners who live and work here. And they've kept the property in ideal condition for you to be able to just move in immediately. The asking price here at the Treehouse is $498,500. It's on one of those big agricultural parcels that is 1 1/4 acre or more. So even someday when somebody else might build a house here or there, the entire layout of this area and this potential sort of project would mean that you're still going to have great privacy, a ton of space around you, and that you're never going to have neighbors directly on you. I should also mention they have an awesome fruit orchard already started. I'm sure you saw that in some of the drone pictures of the property. The fruit trees have been carefully tended to for the last 4 or 5 years. And so you're going to benefit from all kinds of fruits that are available very soon. Speaking of citrus production, I want to head up to Ohancha and bring Steve Mack into our broadcast here. Steve, how are things going up in Ohancha?
Good morning, Matt. Things are beautiful up here. Everything's turning green very quickly with the rains that came in May. Temperature's perfect. I'm sitting on one of these citrus farms you mentioned. Up here on top of
it was quite the awkward segue. Sorry about that. Yeah. For those watching who haven't heard about Ohancha yet, Ohancha is a much higher elevation part of our peninsula. Steve is sitting up here, and actually it's funny, Ohancha doesn't immediately come up on Google Maps with a big location pin like I wanted it to. Going down towards Nicoya here, Ohancha is up here in the mountains. Really, what sort of altitude are we talking about, Steve?
Anywhere from, say, 300 meters to almost 1,000 meters. So there's a very wide range. from very, not very far from sea level, to basically what's the same kind of altitude and climate as San Jose. So you do have a very wide range of climates. You have a very, very wide variety of types of properties that you could find. The city itself, or if you want to call it a city, it's actually, I would say, a large, small town. It has about 3,000 people. It has its own local government, which I think is really important if you're planning to move to Ohancha or build or anything else, which means it's much more responsive than other local governments. And that's important because if you're building, you need permits, for example, or you need water access, you need electricity. So all those kinds of services are much more accessible than they would be in another another rural part of Costa Rica that would be similar.
Yeah, here we're looking at downtown Ohancha, the capital of their canton or county. Yeah, it's a very cute little town up there, and because they have that elevation, you really start to see differences in climate. You definitely see sort of differences in the lifestyle up there. There's still a ton of people producing stuff, and you can't even grow coffee at certain locations up there. So Steve and I recently stopped by the coffee cooperative in Ohancha and talked a little bit more about what they're up to. We will be publishing a video on that very soon on my channel, but today I sort of wanted to ask Steve, you've been looking at properties up in Ohancha. What sorts of availability is there, and what options might people find if they want to get up into the mountain areas up there?
What I'm finding are a lot of small farms up in the hills above the city or the town. By small, I mean 8 to 20 acres, say 3 to 10 hectares. Some is just raw land, and some have farmhouses, some have very nice houses. There's a wide variety, but if you're interested in coming to Costa Rica and homesteading, for example, having a small farm and growing some of your own food, but still being very close to other amenities like supermarkets and restaurants and so forth, then Ohancha, I think, might be a very good choice. Like Matt mentioned before, that the climate is really, compared to the coast, noticeably cooler. And if you get up into the higher parts of Ohancha, it's very, very comfortable.
Absolutely. Well, and I was going to say, you also, when you're driving through these places, you can find absolutely beautiful views. It's something that, down at my house, we're really tucked into a lowland area, and I would have to do a lot of hiking to get a view like this. Speaking of which, this is actually from a property that is for sale, if I'm not mistaken. What are we looking at?
Right. Yeah, I found this property last weekend, just kind of driving around in the countryside and talking to people. And what you're looking at in this picture is the Gulf of Nicoya and Isla Venado, one of the islands in the Gulf. This is a orange farm and a coffee farm. It's 3.5 hectares, which is about 10 acres. So it's a manageable size. It doesn't have a house on it, but it has that view, and that view is taken from a nice building site. And it's at, I think, a very, very good price, $150,000 for something like this. Whereas I don't think you could even find anything comparable near the coast for less than $500,000, for example.
10 acres of land out here near the tourism
But
We'll edit this one out too. Who knows? But it's only the second time, so it's not a big deal. There we go. That's at 50. Yeah, it'll be very easy to find both of those circumstances. We'll edit that out. And we're talking again. Well, and I was trying to remember what you had just said.
what I had just said was that it's 3.5 hectares at a very, very, very reasonable price in an area that's becoming discovered by expats and by people from the Central Valley that are looking for a nice change or for a weekend getaway.
Yeah, absolutely. You do see a lot of Costa Ricans who want to find that same, Guanacaste for them is that refuge where they can get away from the city, find spots that are much more peaceful. Y por supuesto, si para ustedes les interesaría contactarse con Steve en Ohancha, vamos a poner la dirección de Steve ahorita en la pantalla para que lo tienen. Steve también habla bien el español, él tiene muchísimos años en el país. Se le puede contactar con Steve en steve@cb Pacific Realty, la dirección que está abajo. Sería un gran gusto atenderle tanto en Ohancha con Steve que con mi persona aquí por la costa. So absolutely.
Okay. Mucho gusto a todos los parlantes. Estoy aquí para servirle.
Sí, totalmente. Steve, now up in those areas, I've also seen that you've come across a few homes, and I just want to go over really quick. I've mentioned one of these listings on the channel before, but now that we're talking about mountain properties, you can find some also essentially really just simple homes up there near Ohancha at reasonable prices as well, where people, obviously they're not going to be in a golf course gated community, but for people who are looking to get sort of into that real authentic lifestyle, who have a lower budget and who are willing to live, in homes that are simple like this, you have a few really interesting options.
Right. Well, in town, in these small farms that I mentioned before, a lot of them will have a small farmhouse, which is usually an older property, usually made out of wood with smaller rooms. The families here traditionally were very big. So people would maximize space by making smaller rooms. But in town, you have well, times are changing, families are smaller. People are building very nice contemporary homes with the kind of open floor plan that a lot of people from, say, the United States or Europe would feel much more comfortable with. And there's a lot of experience now in building those kinds of homes. And you can generally build them for less money out here than you could near the coast. But some of these old farmhouses up in the mountains can be very charming and beautiful, and very, I think, can be easily remodeled to fit the tastes of people coming to Costa Rica. And there was something that we discovered about a month ago, is that there's a company here that builds beautiful, beautiful wooden cabins, and they will build them anywhere in Ohancha. I don't know, Matt.
I was trying to bring up that listing right now, but unfortunately I can't get the bookmark to pop up on my screen. If you want to learn more about these cabins, we actually featured them recently as one of my top picks. A developer in Ohancha is offering teak cabins that are just beautiful, custom, completely wood homes with prices as low as $75,000 for the cabin itself. You'll just have to look for Matt's top picks in order to see those cabins. With a home in the $75,000 range, if you wanted to explore one of these homestead parcels with Steve, between getting your 10, 15, 20 acres and then building a custom teak cabin on it, you could have an absolutely beautiful mountain property up where Steve is in Ohancha. He also has farms that have active citrus production. He has a very large property. You're actually living in a 4-bedroom home right now that's at the top of a mountain, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's where I'm sitting right now. It's overlooking the Pacific Ocean. We're probably, as the crow flies, about 15 kilometers from the beach, but we're looking right down on it. I can actually see the breakers at the mouth of the Rio Ora in Playa Camaronal, and in the morning I can hear the surf if it's a calm if there's not much wind and it's coming from the right direction. But
Yeah,
anyways,
here it
this
is.
this, this property is at 800 meters. It's very nice and cool. It's very comfortable house, extremely well built. It was built by a Swiss family to exacting Swiss standards, and it has a very nice farm that surrounds it, where there's a lot of oranges planted, but there has a lot of
Uh-huh.
potential to grow coffee and have small animals or a lot of different uses. And also, somebody could probably build this and have like a family compound or a small permaculture or ecological community up here that would be, I think, extremely pleasant.
Yeah.
Here, one thing about Ohancha is that there's amazing views almost in every direction once you get up out of town and into the mountains. Um, and so, what Matt mentioned is buying a small farm and building something, either one of these teak cabins, which are gorgeous, or something, um, that you would feel basically your dream house. I think
Yep.
that would be a wonderful option, and I think between the land and the house, you could get, depending on the size of the farm and the size of the house, you could have a really really nice and customized homestead in the
Yeah.
mountains of Costa Rica for a very reasonable price.
Yeah, I absolutely love this picture of the interior of one of these cabins. I did finally find the link. These are images of these custom teak cabins that can be built for you as low as $75,000 for the studio that we're looking at. So you could also imagine, looking back at Steve's, we'll try and get back to the main pictures here, this 12-hectare farm, which is about 27 acres. You could add, bungalows for other people, for your family members. It would allow a lot of flexibility. And you'd actually have plenty of space to space out the different cabins to, really create that multifamily possibility up there. This is up in about how far would it be, Steve, to drive from there to downtown Ohancha? So how far
It's a
outside of
little,
town are you?
it's a little less than half an hour, and the roads
Okay.
are in good shape. I mean, amazingly, and I think this is partly because Ohancha has its own local government.
It's hard to express to people just how important a good, well-functioning local government can be in terms of, improving the quality of life for people up there. So I think a lot of people should be interested in Ohancha for many reasons, not least of which that you can find all of these mountain properties up there, views, really that cooler temperature, that peace and tranquility. Thanks very much for joining me today, Steve. Like I mentioned, we will have him back when we're talking about the Ohancha coffee tour and some other things to do up there. Again, you can get directly in touch with Steve if you're thinking that you want to hit the Ohancha area. He'd love to hear from you again. His address, steve@cbpacificrealty.com. Greatly appreciate you joining me today, Steve. Stay warm up there.
Thank you, Matt. And look forward to hearing from the listeners. Y mucho gusto. Espero que podamos estar en contacto.
Excelente. Great. Have a good one, Steve. Okay. And I will officially get you out of here. Before we wrap up, we will be taking a look at one last property. Someone had reached out to me directly. They have a home up in Tilaran, another really beautiful higher elevation area. Again, if you are interested in finding out more about the properties that I've been discussing, you can also send me an email to matt@costaricamatt.com. You can put Treehouse in the subject, and I'll be sure to send you the listing link and the full information here. Have a good one, folks, and enjoy Casa Tilaran.